And I hope that their first child be a masculine child.
When they turn on Slutty GPT, because the very first thing I'm going to ask OpenAI to put out for me is like very accurate Mr. Hands animal horse erotica, so it can go with the pictures behind you.
It's just gonna get real weird. You can have my actually they're crooked. That always bothers me when I look behind me. You have ancient Russian like horse porn.
They're showing off some ankles there, and you know, in the age of James Madison, that would be salacious.
They are slutty.
They are slutty.
I have more horses around here too. Good use amount of horse stuff. So read into that what we will.
There's some deep something there that we can explore.
Yeah, I got to unpack the virile masculinity of secretariat over here on my wall.
The virile masculinity of equine pornography. Anyways, Eric, thank you for being here. This is the first episode of what I'm hoping becomes something useful and successful. It is Annoyed Masculinity. It's a podcast where you and I, and hopefully eventually some other people, talk to each other about what annoys us about the current social state and narrative around what it is to be a man, to be masculine, and how, as you and I have talked in the past a lot, there are better ideas out there that just, for whatever reason, don't have any traction or aren't being talked about widely in an online space. And for me personally, as someone who's too online, it's almost not existent.
Well, there are a few things I enjoy more than talking about stuff that annoys me. So I'm besides my strong feelings on this, it's kind of the.
Well, it's one of the things you learn about when you're in the Marines, when you're leading Marines, is that a bitching Marine is a happy Marine, because when they stop complaining, they've lost all hope. So if I will do anything as long as I complain about while I'm doing it.
And topic for another time, in the corporate world, is there's a lot of bosses that need to learn that. It's like, look, your people are united in complaining about you. So that's not a thing that, we need to accept as leaders.
Yeah. And I there's a whole episode about this on The Office. And that show really is the book for decoding corporate America.
Won't disagree.
But since this is the first episode, I thought maybe it'd be a good idea for me to explain why we're doing this. I know you're doing it because I wouldn't shut up about it, and I hassled you until you said yes.
No, not entirely.
So for me, I don't like a world where the idea of what is masculine is defined by sex criminals, by a bunch of weird dorks, by tryhards, by grifting hustle bros, by people who the hard men of my ancestry would look at as effete dweebs. And I don't say that surreptitiously or anything. I think that's the right word. We can edit it out and change it with something more appropriately if it isn't.
Hey, Jack from the future here. The word I was looking for was flippantly, not surreptitiously. Anyways, on with the show.
Like, my dad and grandpa were UAW machinists. My great grandpa was the village blacksmith. And like his dad was the village blacksmith and shit. Like, that's on my dad's side. On my mom's side, they were like iron workers in Chicago and shit. And like before that, when they first got off the boat from Slovakia, or what time was Czechoslovakia, they worked in like gas mines outside of Pittsburgh, like shit that no one wants to do, hard fucking backbreaking work. And so like, it's not like I'm trying to conjure up an image that doesn't exist. They would look at my life and be like, damn, homie is comfy as shit. He's got some soft hands, and we worked hard for him to be like that. So I look around, I don't see anything strikes me as particularly masculine. I see a lot of people who lack some of the core traits of what I would say being a man is, masquerading and playing at it while promoting the worst aspects of it. And I think, another lesson from the early days of my time in the service was that my first commanding officer was very big on the idea of if you are not a part of the solution, then you are part of the problem. And so why not? We've got the internet. We have technology, SpongeBob. We can say what we think. And if other people like it, great. If not, we did a fun thing for a couple months and then we moved on with our lives. But anyways, there's no reason not to try because the bar is on the floor. So, might as well try to make the world a little bit better because honestly, that's kind of what being a man is about to me.
I'm surprised we haven't tried before to see if our families know each other, if yours are from like South Chicago or the region, because, my parents, even though my father being a professor, they actually met at the most romantic place on earth, the Gary Works of U.S. Steel, because my mom's family was all Gary Irish and steel workers.
It's possible. My mom grew up in Hammond. Well, no, strike that. She grew up in Texas and moved to Hammond when she was 15.
Well, story for another day. We'll explore that, everyone, and get back to you because I know you're waiting to hear if, in fact, our extended families know each other.
If Eric and, in fact, I are long and lost cousins of some kind that we didn't know about till now.
That would be, that'd be a turning point in this.
20 years.
Exactly. No, and I'm glad, we did reconnect after so long, because on my end, I guess there's no real better way to phrase this when I say I spend a lot of time with young men, but I do, and not only as I still play rugby with really all ages, and so we've got our oldest guy still playing is 55. I'm 40 personally. There's also ones right out of high school and college, or even through their 20s, that are legitimately seeking, right? Because there's a lot of bullshit out there and grifters, which we'll get into more, trying to define what masculinity is. And honestly, they seem quite lost. But in addition to playing, I'm also a coach, and I deal with even younger men in a middle school age, where it's like, if we can kind of get ahead of what's coming, right, and ahead of them feeling lost, then that's all extremely important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a good time to point out that I don't think that everyone should look at things the way I do. The world would be objectively awesome for some people. It'd be terrible for others. I'm not saying that I have all the answers because I don't. I'm just some fucking dude on the internet. I have another whole ass job that I do to pay for things.
That's okay. I have the answers, so don't worry, everyone.
I have answers. They just might not be good answers. I think they're okay. They're okay. That's when I try to characterize my service to people who ask me what the Marines was like. I was like, I was the okayest Marine for 6 years. I wasn't great. I kind of hated it. And that's why I don't do it anymore. But I was okay. It's like, I don't have all the answers to this. I think I have better answers than a lot of people are consuming. And other people have told me that. It's rare that I say, well, I know I'm right because I think so. It's like, no, other people have said this is something that we think you're on it about. So, yeah.
People have to get used to us qualifying most things that we say because we are, well, I would say, fortunately, we are burdened by self-awareness. So, come along. So we will most likely change our opinions on some things here and there based on conversation, and especially if we get feedback from people and from other guests. So this will be a exploratory process that we hope people come along with us on.
Yeah. And I have to say that leads me into, what are the goals here? And for me, and you mentioned a little bit, get off ahead of it for younger people, or really for anyone who is just starting to wonder, what is this thing? How am I supposed to be? What the script that I've been handed by life doesn't match up with what I experience. And mine was just simply to stave off the idea that we need to cede the definition of manhood to a bunch of, and like I said, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. I think they're all a bunch of dork-ass losers. They're not people I would want to hang out with. They're not people I would enjoy being around because they all, again, seem like a bunch of dork-ass losers. Andrew Tate, Joe Rogan, Jordan B. Peterson, who apparently has been huffing mold for the last 30 years, and that's why he's fucked in the head.
PhD,
honestly
Jack.
explains a few things.
Yeah.
Kermit the Frog ranting about lobsters and being wrong. But yeah, so my goal with all this is to use my voice to elevate what others have to say, so that we can kind of build an understanding that there isn't a single one way to be a man. There is not a single definition of masculinity. There never has been. And that's something I hope we have enough time to get into as far as like the historical aspect of it, the cultural aspect of it later on. But ultimately to provide a robust alternative to the idea that these other people have put out, and to hopefully people find it useful and helpful and positive in their life, and helps them, succeed in feeling like they are the idealized they can become the person that they idealize themselves in their head,
And not just for young men, as we've talked, we really hope we get all kinds of people listening, maybe they're just exploring the world of men. Maybe there's somebody, in your family or a friend that you're concerned about, or you just want to better understand. And so we're really just, probably when we reach a broad audience, some will listen to us, some won't. But yeah, this is not targeted just towards men specifically.
Yeah. And if you find this valuable and you're not a man, great. That's wonderful. I am happy for you, and I'm happy you enjoy it. I know the original thesis that I had in my head was, what the fuck is wrong with these young dudes? They need guidance. But then as we've talked about it a lot, it's like, no, this is something that like everyone could probably use some help understanding. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I ask my wife about stuff to try to understand her point of view, because I fundamentally don't understand it from a lived experience, that type of femininity. But I like to learn about it, so I understand where she's coming from, what her concerns are, what her point of view is on anything, really. And so it's, there's value here for other people as well. But, if you're a young, angry guy who doesn't like how the world is going, you may not agree with us, you may not like us, you may think that we're idiots, but I hope that you have the ability to look past those initial prejudices and say, maybe I can learn something. Or maybe you don't. Fuck, maybe you waste an hour every time. I can't get it back to you, and I did, so, but, whatever. So I think the best thing to start off with, Eric, what annoys you about masculinity?
Honestly, we touched on this a little bit already, but there's a lot of, at a micro level, there's plenty of things that I'm going to complain about or have strong opinions on. But really, just starting at the top, at a high level, what annoys me the most about the narrative of masculinity right now is how performative it is, right? And I think in a way, when you're focusing on these surface level things, and there's a mix. Some people are just grifters out there right now. And I think, in fairness, there's content creators or influencers, whatever you want to call them, that maybe themselves are seeking, right? But they've been misinformed or have like some of the wrong opinions on this, but they're continuing on a journey. So regardless, that focus on the surface is, I think, honestly, just making men weaker, right? Like it feeds this insecurity instead of curing it. And you see this not only in behavior, but speaking from experience, you also see it in the rise in body dysmorphia that young men are feeling, right?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. And we used to just think that this was the realm of women. And in truth, it's always been there for men, don't get me wrong, but now it's extreme.
Not like it is now.
No.
It is nuts. Like I'm a very pudgy person these days, but I hate cardio, but I will lift weights all day long if you let me. And I follow a lot of like gymfluencer content, and I am shocked at like how much like just straight up undiagnosed or unaddressed body dysmorphia is present in so many young men. It's like, especially with the use of performance enhancing drugs, chemicals, whatever they're called.
Tren and test, are both rampant right now.
like stuff that you had to like buy from some weirdo in the back alley when you and I were coming up. Now you can just get off your phone. It's like, no, you don't need to do this. Like, no one should be doing this. Your heart is going to explode at 40. There's no reason to like make this is an unrealistic expectation. That's a whole ass episode probably. So let's continue.
Yeah, I mean, because these aren't your grandpa's roids. It's weird for me saying it's like from the 80s, right? And but that's what we grew up hearing about. But at the same time, like you're still on hormones and steroids, and the amount of guys that are getting on test or doing trend is just insane. And even if it's not that, janky back of the gym stuff that used to be around, like it's still going to have long-term effects. I mean, at 40, I've looked into doing TRT because I have these visions of D4 rugby glory and running over 20 somethings. Now, is this me having an issue with masculinity, or is it just a midlife crisis? Probably a little bit of both. But the problem is once you're on that, like you're on it. And so this is a huge concern for me, both, like I said, so it's both from a physical level and behavioral. And that's something that we've only seen to this extreme, like in recent years. Right. And I think, feeding into that insecurity is you get these loud voices, right, talking about, physical strength or pretending to talk about mental strength, like with stoicism and everything. And yeah, there is some value in Stoic philosophy, but it's all pseudo philosophy, right? It's like they skimmed the Wikipedia article on all this stuff. And
nothing makes me angrier than listening to Mark Zuckerberg talk about stoicism. It's like, I'm pretty sure if Marcus Aurelius could come back, he would just stab you with his gladius and take a piss on your face.
Well, and talking about dumb haircuts, it's like Jonas, after the youth. But one of the worst was when Mark had his Octavius hair. It was like, okay, Augustus.
There was a couple of versions of the android back. It was.
It goes back a bit.
The texture of the skin yet. You look too much like Data off of Star Trek Next Generation. But yeah.
Yeah, and looking back to the ancients, and this is further episodes to get deeper into, former times, in taking like the most surface level worst view of it, is dangerous. But instead of
the frustrating thing about that is if they actually read and understand what Marcus Aurelius said about anything, they would understand that they have a poor understanding of it. but like, how can I 10x by listening to The Last of the Five Good Emperors? It's like, you clearly did not understand what you read.
And what's really funny is this actually goes back to this, maybe to the Roman Empire itself, because I may be pronouncing this wrong. A listener will correct me, but the writer Vegetius, I think he was writing in like the either late 4th or maybe even in the 5th century, but talking about like, oh, we've lost what Rome really was, right? And talking about, oh, the legions were this and the men were men, back in the day. And so you had this started even back in Roman times, which is...
And sometimes the men were women, if you're talking about Caesar.
Well, that's even as men, chanting that at his victory parades. But no, so it's really... What I want us to talk about is, instead of, these guys talking about being leaders or being strong, and trying to like show it, it's like, let's talk about actually like performing masculinity, right, instead of pretending, right, and putting on an act. Let's go deeper into see what that really looks like. So I said there are values in those philosophies, but it's putting them into actual practice and getting into what they actually mean makes the big difference. Because it's like, look, you look at a lot of surface things. I'm not I got my kettlebells and stuff scattered around here, but I do Pilates. Like, I'm a basic bro in many ways. But I'm Pilates princess, I think is the term. I've got my long, thin limbs. On the surface, I may not qualify as masculine based on some of these guys. But but you got below that. I still play rugby, right? You were a Marine. Yeah. We have these things in us. But I think what really matters is giving my time back too, and helping others build like confidence instead of just preaching it. Like when I coach the kids, and that's like a big focus, just developing them as people. So it's like helping others build their confidence and their strength instead of just trying to show off mine. Is something I want to focus on. But yeah, by their terms, I guess that's not masculine, right? I like my pink shirts and all of that. Like it's fine.
I mean, I'm more of a vampire goth kid at heart, so I enjoy pink. Oftentimes, I paint my nails pink, but given that we are in a spooky season, and I refuse to accept that November is not spooky season, I have history to back me up on this in Slavic folklore to say that November is also spooky month. But anyways, another talk another time, probably a different podcast.
We may have
I
another
often
one.
don't wear a lot of bright colors, but when I do, pink is solidly in the rotation.
I'm a pastel guy.
So
I like to be pretty.
Pastels are wonderful.
Hey, listeners. So a lot of this portion, for a good 5 minutes, maybe 10, Eric and I were talking about a guy named Joe Paterno, who used to be, in our youth, a very good football coach at Penn State University. And then as we hit adulthood, we learned that he covered up a huge amount of sexual assault and abuse of his players by one of his direct subordinates. And as much as I respected him as a child, as an adult, I think he's a huge piece of shit, and I'm not going to have us even trying to say some good things about him, given what we all know about him now. So if some of this seems a little disjointed here in the middle, that's why. Hope you understand. Thanks. Bye.
This is a loaded term. If you don't like me saying the word toxic masculinity, understand that an adjective and a noun are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I am describing the type of masculinity by saying toxic masculinity. It doesn't mean that all masculinity is toxic, you dumb fucking dweebs.
Exactly.
So toxic masculinity is part of its root is insecurity. Feeling that you have to put on this show of whatever you think a man is, which often turns out to being just an asshole. Like, wow, that guy's a fucking asshole. Yes, he is. And why is he an asshole? Because he's doing X, Y, and Z as he's portraying his manhood, which makes it an aspect of masculinity. That's just what it is.
Well, you don't need to prove you're a man, like when you're already doing what men are supposed to do, right?
Yeah, and I think it was, and I think in like memes from TV shows and movies, it's like the scene from Game of Thrones where Tywin Lannister is like, anyone who has to say I am the king is not the king. Like if you have to tell me that you're a man, it's to doubt. Like I just don't see it. Like if you have to tell me how tough you are, I don't think you're that tough. That's just me. If that bothers you for some reason, that's something you need to ask yourself, but it doesn't bother me. It's not my problem.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's like. I think just to close out mine is it's like, let's get past the aesthetics, right? And get into, actually performing it, which means contributing, to society and to people around you. And that's something that we can dig in some more later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what about you, Jack?
Yes. What annoys me about masculinity? Man, the fact that I feel compelled to do this. Because I just like to sit around and read old sci-fi books, man, and play with my daughter. I don't want to sit here and gripe at people on the internet. I don't want to be the old man yelling at kids on the internet. I think at one time, before we knew about all the rape, there was in the 90s, Bill Cosby was.
It was the 90s, Jack.
Before we knew about all the rape, Bill Cosby was best known for yelling at young black men, telling them to stop talking in ebonics and pull their pants up. I don't want to be that. I don't want to feel like I'm doing that. But I honestly don't think I am. I don't want to be received like that, though. It's purely not you have to do everything like I do, because otherwise you're not legitimate or valid or anything. My whole point is that there's a lot of ways to do this, and no one knows the right way. Beyond that, what annoys me about is that I feel like this is something I need to do to help contribute. I'd much rather live in a world where I don't want to feel like I need to speak up, because that world then is a world that is more aligned to what I think a good place would be. the current narrative is so foreign to me. When I try to learn about it, and because it's like, no one, you never stop learning. If you stop learning, you're an idiot. And I need to understand why people are feeling the way they're feeling and what they're experiencing and how that's different from how things were when I was a kid in the, the 90s and the 2000s. And when I look and see about what they're concerned about, there is some like old man shakes fist at cloud, like, you have to try, life's hard. That's how it is for everybody. And I think that's just a reaction that old people have eventually. Not that 40 is old, but if you're 15 or 20 or 25, 40 is fucking ancient. And so it's that there are, I don't know. I grew up in the last remnants of and we're both from Indiana, but like there are multiple Indianas.
Yeah.
Growing up in a mostly rural, I grew up on a farm that was outside of a factory town. Like the last bit of the industrial Midwest, they closed the factories as I was in high school. And the men there weren't perfect, and they were far from it, but there was a sense of like honor and duty and chivalry to the idea of what you were supposed to be as a man. And they were okay with admitting when they fucked it up. They're mad about it, and maybe didn't express it the best way because they were men in the 90s. And we have to have like some understanding of what that was like at the time. And it was a more misogynistic, might not be the best word, but is a culture that maybe wasn't as understanding of that, but also still gave you space to have feelings as a man, to be able to express concern, doubt, being upset, being able to cry. These weren't things that like made you unmanly. It made you intelligent. It made you able to understand the situation of what's happening around you. And, the idea, chivalry as itself may be a problematic concept. All these ideas about how men were in the 90s in the rural Midwest might be kind of loaded 30 years later. And I can't pretend that's not a problematic thing. But I'm not talking about the actual definition of what was happening. It's the idea of what they were trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
When we try to gate an idea to a specific behavior pattern, to a specific performance at one point in time, then you are limiting it from the ability to grow and to become a modern version of itself. Like that, and that is like, these ideas do change. They do grow. They do morph and become something else. And if you can't do it the same way your grandpa did 70 years ago, because you live in a different time, a different place, with different resources, working a different job, with a different economic situation, like that's just existence in life. And you have to accept that. But you can also, that's where the magic happens. That's where you can be like, okay, well, I'm a fucking man. I'm going to figure this out. And I'm going to do the things I need to do to take care of myself and my family and the people I care about and provide the best life I can in the way that makes sense for me right now. And I love taking care of my wife. My wife is a very independent person, and that's why I love her. But I love to be able to do things to take care, help her out through the day. I've cooked almost every one of our meals for the last 10 years because she doesn't like cooking, and I love to cook. Like that's part of the way I contribute around the house. And that's, to some people, is unmanly because men aren't supposed to cook. They're supposed to be served meals because they're toddlers, I guess. And that's self-sufficiency. That's being able to, like, if there's no woman around, how do I eat? Well, I need to learn how to cook. In order to be healthy and to get big at the gym, I need to eat nutritious meals. How do I do that? How do I cook these in a way that isn't just frying everything? Like these are all enabling skills to get to what you actually want to have with masculinity, but they're all gated by people who are incompetent. And then instead of growing and learning, they whine that the things they are not good at are then a reflection of what's bad about manhood, because if they can't do it, then no one can or should. And so there's a lot of try to wrap it all back around in a bow. It's a lot of what you're related to what you said with, there's a lot of performance, but there's no substance. I can perform washing a plate. And if the food is on a part of the plate that the performance doesn't dictate I wash, the plate's still fucking dirty and it's still going to get put away with food on it. Or if I say, I need to clean a plate, I know how to clean a plate on one side. I can probably do it on the other side too, because that's where the food is. Now we've moved beyond performance to actually having a substantive action. And that is completely missing, as far as I can tell. Not necessarily in the people consuming the material, because they want the substantive action. It's in the presentation of it from manosphere morons. And God, it annoys me. It's hard not to rant. I could rant by myself.
I'm just
for an
letting
hour
you
about
go.
this.
So that's
We'll clean it all up in post. But there's nothing saying that you can't be a supportive, strong, caring person who also is emotionally intelligent, who cares about people, who has interests, who is passionate about things. Good Lord. You can't see them because they're on the other side of everything, but my desk is littered with Legos. Like I'm horrible at taking care of plants. I love plants. I don't want to murder plants because I'm bad at taking care of them. So I have started having all these plant sets come out. And like one of my favorite ones, like this, the chrysanthemum. Oh, I love this. I think this is the chrysanthemum one. But yeah, I have like a bunch of these. I have the bamboo, the succulents, and one of the orchids. And I love flamingos. So like I have this flamingo. I have a bunch of like high quality metal flamingos in my yard that are like lacquered, and it's like the classiest white trash shit I've ever seen. I had to have it.
Well, I've shown you some of my models, but saying, it'd be fun, something to do with my wife is, like we were out at the Lego store buying gifts for a couple boys of some friends of ours, but we're in there and we're like, okay, there's some cool shit in here. Like, I haven't done this in a long time. So like Flower's like, oh, hey, maybe this would be fun for us to do together. And we started, but then she kind of took it over. She really enjoyed that. So I was just kind of sitting there and I was like, can I help? No. Like, I know how to just right, but
that's being a good supportive husband. You she had a passion for it and you stood back and let her lead it.
She leads a lot. It's just context for listeners. My wife was originally born behind the Iron Curtain, so I think she has more in some ways toxic masculinity at times than I do. I mean, I'm the dramatic, sensitive one around here, and she's what I'm trying to get to talk some more, open up about your feelings. Try that with a Slav sometime, see how it goes. But no, so I let her do that. But we have found fun in Legos.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just that. Like the reason I'm on this is because I saw this thing that I think it's tied together. There's this thing where like Gen Z is afraid of being cringe, and we're millennials. We were raised. And
they call millennial cringe is a whole genre now, isn't it? I just found out about that.
Spork every now and then. But what cringe? And it's one of those things where like, oh, these words mean different things now. Steve Carell in The Office, every moment of his character as Michael Scott is cringy to me.
Yeah, that's how
because he's supposed to be. That's the act. What I found a lot of what the modern definition of it appears to be, and I like exploring some ancient temple as a fucking anthropologist. Like, what are the youths like, kids? It's cringe apparently now means just being yourself, having interests, and being okay with that, and like understanding that you're not excellent at everything, and just being a normal ass person. And it's like, no, have passion, like love shit that no one else. You don't have. It wraps up with the performance piece, where like you can be into some shit and not be good at it and still be into it, and that's fine, perfectly fine, because you're not doing it for anyone else. You're doing it for you. Because that's what like being a whole person is.
Well, even at a basic level, just to continue with that, is this fear of cringe, like as what I've seen in action is extended into even like meeting new people, right? Into fear. And so, okay, yeah, you may be jacked and talking about Marcus Aurelius and all that, but you're too afraid to go talk to women in bars and stuff. So and then complain about not, having a girlfriend. So it's like,
and it's not to cast blame. Like, I understand I grew up in a different time. The internet didn't exist in the town I grew up in until I was like a tween. So yeah, I didn't have, no one handed me an iPad. And told me this is how you learn life. But at the same time, like I have crippling social anxiety at times. Like I hate networking for work. Like if you put me in a room full of a bunch of other program managers, I will not talk to fucking anyone. I will go find a corner, sit politely in it, and wait for the whole thing to be done, because that's just who I am. But if you catch me at any type of event where I'm like feel more comfortable, in a social setting for any type of thing I enjoy. And I will talk to you at great length, whether you want me to or not. And it really just depends on the setting for me, but also like there's a lot of insecurity that I have about my fitting inness in the corporate world that comes through at work. Now I have to work on, and I have to like put effort into to get past it. And I have a lot. But I still like, I clam up very easily at first. And so I have a lot of empathy for someone who is like, I can't talk to girls at the bar because I'm afraid. Because they're fucking girls.
Everyone's
afraid
afraid
because they're beautiful, mysterious creatures that are frightening and wonderful all at once. Like they're Galadriel when she's trying to decide whether or not she's going to like take the ring. Like, we'll look upon my beauty and despair. Like, yeah, they're women. That's how it is.
Yeah.
I get it.
The building of the inner strength, because like, look, there's times that you're going to be afraid of shit, like, or you use the corporate. Yeah. It's like everybody's afraid to go talk to beautiful women. Don't get me wrong, but you know, you practice it. You just do it. Like if she's somebody that you want to get to know, but it's like, yeah, the corporate stuff too. I mean, hell, does anybody really like networking? I mean, there's those of like, I look like I do and look like I'm very comfortable, but I
unfortunately know people who enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, okay. As soon as I said that, I was like, there are
very exhausting people. LinkedIn exists. So.
Yeah, but it's like I said about LinkedIn. You know, I have to post content and stuff on there. You know, it's just what you have to do, even though I try to minimize it. But no, I mean, I find that stuff absolutely exhausting. But the thing is like, I know that I just have to do it. And so,
you know who else I'm afraid to talk to?
Who else?
Fucking directors and VPs at work.
Well, I was an executive vice president.
Until I get to know them, I am terrified of these people. They're basically my peers. Hierarchically, they sit above me in the org chart, but they're the people I work with every day. And I just like, until I have talked to them a few times, I'm just terrified. Can't make words come right, basically.
Yeah.
Because it's that social anxiety, insecurity, and shit I have to work on and get over, because that's what I gotta do.
Well, because it's like, if somebody's comfortable in their position, okay, great, you don't have to do that. But you can't complain about not moving up and not network, right? That's like sales numbers. Sure. Well, I'm not hitting it. Like, why? And it's like, well, because you don't go and talk to people. You don't put yourself out there, and so that's there's positions where you can avoid that, and if that's what you're fine with. But again, it's like with women too. I mean, okay, if you don't want a girlfriend or anything, fine, no pressure. But you also can't complain about not having one. Like if you don't go out there and do it.
Like life is not going to issue you one.
No.
It's you're fuck. What was the guy's kid? What was the character in Major Pain?
Oh gosh, no, I know.
The Marine Corps wanted me to have a wife. They would have issued me one. Man, I love
another reference that was probably outdated.
From just after color TV happened, a wonderful pair of brothers, Marlon and what was the Wayans brothers, I forget the names, became actors and then taught a generation of children in the 90s what humor was. That's what we're referencing.
Damon, wasn't it? Was another one.
Marlon and Damon. They had a show together, I think, too, like a sitcom.
We'll fact check that, guys. But
yes. Wait, I was told there would not be any. No, I'm not going to do JD Vance impressions. That dumb fucking pogue. So, Eric, this leads us to the next thing. We've said what we don't like, but what do you think an opportunity for growth is? Like, how can we? We've defined an issue and thing that we don't like, but like how can people correct? Like, what's your advice here? If you would, for a moment, put on your uncat and be an old wizened.
I am an uncle. So, but I mean, I think it's stop treating masculinity like an identity to perform, right? It's a skill to refine, like anything is, and something I've worked on a lot lately, probably belatedly, but hey, it's all a journey. Is awareness. I'm doing awareness exercises and focusing on that instead of dominance or anything, right? Or what I was really finding is that as a man and I had boomer parents and grew up with all that, is everything just gets repressed, right? And if there's a feeling. It's like, I know there's a feeling, but I don't know what that feeling is. And then it just comes out as mad, right? Because unfortunately, for a long time, it's, whether this is true or not, there's the perception that like the only socially acceptable, you know, emotions to express as a man are being fine. Bill Burr had, you know, a routine on this recently. It's like you're fine or you're mad, right? And so if you're scared, you're mad. If you're sad, you're mad, right? If it's going to come out, that's how you do it. And it's massively unhealthy, not only for yourself, but, you know, also for others around you. You know, and I'm married. My wife is stuck in this house with me, especially since we both work from home. And that's just not, that's not healthy. And when you think about masculinity as really kind of a strength expressed through care, um, and empathy, you know, how you, the kind that makes people around you feel safer, right? Not smaller, because that ultimately, you know, you see all that, those sheepdog shirts. It's like, all right, fine, you want to be a sheepdog, make people feel safer, right? Not have this as just some like, oh, look how tough I am. Because if a sheepdog was more worried about that, then the sheep are going to get murdered. So quick tangent there, but it's, you know, making people around you feel safe. And so doing this, and we can get into another episode, some of the things I've been doing, but um, building that awareness and being able to also kind of understand what it is that I'm actually feeling. You know, sure, I'm not the guy. I still don't, you know, have issues with crying publicly or, you know, things like that. But at least I know like what I'm feeling, and so I can manage this without things just coming out as mad, the people around me. And I think working on that awareness, you know, and learning, and really just, it's uncomfortable stepping back and saying, okay, what have I been doing that is harmful, right? And not only myself, but for others, and analyzing that and processing it, and, you know, working towards a more healthy expression and resolution, um, is something that I really think is just going to be the baseline for growth, right? Working on awareness, and yeah, refining your masculinity over time, to be that protector, to make people feel safe, to help build others up. You know, then you're the one that they're going to look to. You know, as a leader, you can't just declare that, right? Or that way you do become the person that they come to in tough times, right? You know, just flex your trend enhanced biceps and have people flock to you. But you know, approach and timeline, it takes a while, but it all just starts with daily practice, because everything comes down to practice, right? There's talk about things, but until you actually start doing it, until you start building these habits, you know, you're not going to improve. So really looking at, you know, how do you talk to people? How do you handle stress, right? Are you present? Are you maybe getting ahead of things, or are you just reacting to the environment around you? Be that what people tell you, right? Talking about grifters or some of these wrong messages, like, do you see that and react, or, you know, do you react to outside stressors? Like it's really I think it's kind of a broad sphere that really like encompasses many things. But if you get into that daily habit, and again, there's ways that we'll talk about this more later. But that's step one, right? Step one, every day, reflect, do a little breathing exercise, and just what happened that day, right? What are you feeling now? Where do you think you can improve? What really matters, and build from there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought it up as a skill, because when I think about that, one of the things I did in the Marines, I was a B-billet, I was a marksmanship instructor, and it's like no one is good. There are some people who are naturally inclined towards it because they know to kind of just get how it works, but the M16 is kind of a fucky weapon system, and so you have to learn how to shoot that rifle. Like you might be able to shoot your grandpa's 308, but you might also not be able to shoot an M16 well until you learn how to shoot the M16. And I was a pizza box coming out of boot camp, mostly because I was so goddamn tired. A pizza box means I was a marksman, which was the lowest tier of rifle score on annual qual. Because I was so goddamn tired because it's boot camp and you sleep deprived. Every rifle range after that, I didn't like that. I hated being a pizza box. And so the next rifle range that I went to, I was the company high shooter because I paid attention. I thought about what I was doing, listened to the instructors. I wanted to get better at it. I built that skill. And then later I was asked, hey, do you want to go to the marksmanship instructor course? Like, absolutely. Yes, I love this. But it wasn't overnight. It wasn't something I was born with. It wasn't something that I just inherently was good at because that's not how skill acquisition works for anyone. I mean, even as much as I fucking hate LLMs, you have to train an LLM. What training looks like for that is different because it's a technical algorithmic statistical process, but it's still like you can't just like, here's the formula, go tell me whatever to glue rocks to pizza. Like, no, you have to train it to be able to make it smart enough to tell you to glue rocks to pizza. So,
I mean, it's like you see all these guys come out, they buy all this flashy gear and clothes and everything, but you kind of quickly realize where it's like, all right, you watched a lot of like TikToks and Instagram videos, but now you're trying to swing a golf club and you realize like, hey, this isn't fucking easy. It's like I've spent my whole life on this and it's still extremely frustrating. So,
oh yeah. When they start making golf balls that explode when they land, I will start playing golf.
Yeah, I'll work on it. Get some.
But
was it Tananite? What blows up? Well, I guess we can't tell people how to make bombs here.
Is it illegal to tell people how to make? No, we're not asking that question. We need to just move right on past that before I start chewing on it too much.
And we circle back to the any podcast, any talk about masculinity eventually gets to explosives. So.
Yeah, and this is the great unifying theory of men is that we all like to watch things blow up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no matter who you are. So we'll put that one for to explore in a later episode.
Oh, of course. Oh man, it'd be great if sometime we could go to my wife's uncle's house. He has a couple acre farm. He's a former Marine from the 80s, and now he's a nurse. But we like to go out there and shoot things and blow things up.
So what about you, Jack?
For me, I had to learn how to introspect, which I already kind of did a little bit, just life kind of taught me how, but also learning how to know myself and understand what I wanted versus what I was told I had to be. Not that it matters to the context of this, or perhaps it does more than anything. Like one of my pronouns is they. Born male, but I don't necessarily always feel that way. Gender fluidity is a thing that I had 37 years of a lot of confusion about. And the way I land on he, they is that it's through that introspection and through that endeavoring to learn why am I me? What is it about me that makes me me? And once I had to learn to do that, is brave enough to live that person and deal with the outcomes of that, which isn't always pleasant. So it's one of those things where the definition of what a man was did not necessarily, I didn't fall all the way into it. Like there's this other thing here and I don't know what to call it, but it likes to be pretty, but it also likes to blow things up. What do you do? Fuck it, he, they, it works.
Yep.
That affects no one but me. Like my pronouns are mine, they're not yours. And if you feel oppressed by them somehow, that's a you problem, not a me problem. And so what does, I tend to, I think a lot of the reason that I look towards fictional characters, first of all, never meet your heroes because humans are flawed things. And so if you're looking for an idealized version of something to be, you won't find it in a human outside of possibly one, and that is Fred Rogers. I'm not a Presbyterian. I'm not a Christian. I have never found any of that man's advice to be bad. You never have to say, well, you took Mr. Rogers out of context, because there was no way to take him out of context. Mm-hmm. His whole message was, Yeah, just be nice, kind, and empathetic to people. Understand that humans are different and give people grace. And it may not always be sunshine and daisies blowing out your ass, but you get to be alive, and that's amazing. And so let's make it amazing for everybody. Like that's the 40-year arc of Mr. Rogers' message
Yeah.
in a soundbite. And so, and that may be corny, but it's the truth.
No, I'll fight
The man was on it.
anybody that says here. Maybe that's toxic, but
Yeah.
I'll fight anybody that says Mr. Rogers is corny. So
I mean, that might make a good shirt. Mr. Rogers is corny. Fight me. But when I try to find a positive version of these things, a lot of times I find them in books and movies. James Holden or Amos Burton from The Expanse. Terry Pratchett's Discworld books are just dozens of books talking about how it is perfectly fine to be militantly in favor of decency. Jean-Luc Picard and Christopher Pike from Star Trek. These are all things that I found good positive versions of what it was to be a man in, and how I try to model or contextualize what I feel and what I see through the lens of, okay, well, I've seen it here in this fictional setting. Obviously, I don't live 300 years from now in a spaceship, but like, what can I take from this morality play? Because that's what Star Trek was at its base, was just telling morality tales, and you can set those anywhere. They just happen to be on a spaceship. And in terms of like how to change and how to achieve that, like, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. We all have the same 24 hours of the day. Like, we only have that, and that's all but we all get it. And you can only really progress life one day at a time. And so you got to have patience. You have to understand that you are starting at the beginning, or if you're not at the beginning, wherever you are not at the end. And how do you grow into being a better person? You have to, like I said, introspect, learn about yourself, and say, what do I not like? What do I wish was better? What do I wish I could change? And then if you don't see a positive example in yourself, or you don't necessarily know how to do it, find someone else in your community, in your family, whatever, people that you find others admiring. And what do we like about this person? Why does, I want to be more kind and empathetic. Who does my wife think is kind and empathetic, or my mom, or, anybody? Why do they like that about this person? And learning to be a human is a skill. Anyone who has raised a toddler can tell you this. And as someone who's doing that now, like, teaching that little girl how to be a person is teaching her how to do that is a skill she has to learn. And we didn't necessarily get taught this growing. At least I didn't. It was more of like, you're a person, you know how to do it, go do the thing. It's like, no. The brain has too many neurons that it doesn't know how to do things. It does them weirdly. And so it's like any other skill acquisition process. Start small, start with small changes. If you can change one thing about yourself a week, you have made 52 changes in a year. And that is a massive amount of change. I would aim for a dozen in the course of a year, if I was trying to execute some type of big personal change in my life. And so it's really just another way to say what you already have, which is to be patient, be, put the effort in. You got to work at it, be meaningful and thoughtful about it. Don't perform it as an aesthetic choice. Do it because this is who you are. One of my favorite quotes is from Bob Dylan. Is a man is a person who wakes up in the morning and goes to bed at night, and in between he does what he wants. The unspoken part of that is that, and he lives with the consequences of those actions. He is accountable for what he's done, and he accepts whatever the outcome may be. And if he is a good man, then he is judged to be good, and he's okay with that. And if he's a bad man, then he accepts that he did bad shit.
It's not somebody else's fault. It's accountability. But I think that's right. You bring something up for just to kind of give a preview. People do keep listening. Is that we will be bringing people on who we respect and who have impressed us as people that men that have also accomplished things like being great caretakers for those who are in need, and really going beyond the surface. Just people that we want to be, right, or we want to model ourselves after, or take parts of them, but also people that are willing to talk about things that they fucked up, right, or did wrong. Yeah. You'll hear plenty from us. Absolutely. Like, there's a lot of things that people say no regrets. It's like, there's shit I regret. Yeah, but it's all something caused harm. So
That's where you learn the most.
yeah.
You don't learn shit through success. You learn everything through failure.
Well, that's what I tell people. I'm an expert in failure. So one of these days things are going to go right because if I know everything about what not to do, then, that's half the battle.
All right. I agree. Eric, you want to recap us from your side?
No, I mean, honestly, it's really from my side was what annoys me the most is treating masculinity like an aesthetic. And I really want to get into what it means to practice it and to build that inner strength, regardless of how you appear on the surface or what you're into. As you said, we're not calling masculinity toxic by any means, but it's like, how do we focus on building positive masculinity?
Yeah. Yep. From my side, I see that the narrative is to seek comfort in a past that no longer exists and try to drag the future back to it instead of facing that future with any amount of courage and gumption and drive to say, no, things are different, but I can still find a way to do this in a way that allows me to take care of the people I care about, that allows me to take care of me, that allows me to be a man.
You have to make the world that you live in better, not an idealized version, right? And if you want to contribute, if you want to make people safe, if you want to build them up, you have to operate in the framework of the world. And yeah, you can change what you can and advocate for things. That's what we're trying to do. But ultimately, ain't going back. There's people that want to, but even then, this is it, guys.
And when we allow the worst influences to define us, rather than looking for the most admirable among us, all we do is promote a pale and debased performance of manhood. We demean what it is to be men. Our boys are watching us and internalizing that. Our children, whether they're boys or girls, are looking at their future friends, partners, husbands, wives, what have you, and building an expectation off of that. Like, this is what it's going to be like to live with this kind of person. And if we continue on what we're doing now, we are purposely setting people up for a worse existence than we ever had, and for reasons that only really make sense when you look at the functions of either an engagement algorithm or the mechanics of a narcissistic and authoritarian mind. Someone who only wants to control you and not allow you to be yourself. You have to be an extension of their desire and will, but never what you want.
Which means they're using you and
yes,
being manipulated and being used. That's not.
Which is not very manly.
That's not very manly.
So,
but on that note, yes.
Thank you very much, Eric. I appreciate it, man. It's been great talking to you. Next time, I think we're going to try to talk about what the struggles of young men look like to us.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we agree, where we disagree, and how we can help with that, or what thoughts we have.
Yeah, some of our struggles as young men and middle age as we get into. I still see myself as a young man, but
in my mind, I'm 25.
Yeah, I'll always be 23, and nobody likes you when you're 23.
Yes.
Except us. Okay,
yes.
Don't listen to Blink 182.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Eric, thanks. I appreciate it, man. Have a good day.
You too. Love you, brother.
Thank you for listening to Annoyed Masculinity. This has been an Annoyed Media production. Thoughts and ideas expressed during this episode should not be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. We are not therapists. We are just two guys bullshitting on the internet. Our opinions do not reflect the official positions or ideas of our employers or business partners. You can find more of our work on Substack, Instagram, and Blue Sky under @AnnoyedMasculinity. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember to be awesome to one another.